And number 8 is the Talos Principle, which is a first-person puzzle game that will remind you very much of kind of Portal combined with Myst, if that makes any sense. If you've never played Myst, it's like one of the first-person puzzle games that had particularly mystical and pretty graphics like this game does. However, obviously it's a lot more fluid than that game. That game was all pre-rendered. This is purely a first-person game, and yes, it will remind you of Portal, albeit without the Portal gun. It's that kind of puzzle, though. The Talos Principle is out on both iOS and Android now for $4.99. It's a damn good game. At number 7 is Bully, the classic Rockstar game. Bully is, of course, fighting your way up a school hierarchy where you play pranks, make problems, beat people up, and it's a Rockstar game. It's obviously funny and tongue-in-cheek as well. We all still want Bully 2, but to have Bully in our pocket is not a bad thing. It's out on iOS and Android now for $6.99. At number 6 is The Room 3. Now, The Room are pretty much puzzle box games with a pretty mysterious story, and they do a really good job. They do create an atmosphere that I would say most of those types of games try to, but don't necessarily completely do it. I think the third is probably the best of the three, the most concise at least, and it has some pretty clever puzzles, although I will say by the third, you're fairly familiar with what to do. The Room 3 is $3.99. It's out on iOS and Android now. At number 5 is the Grand Theft Auto trilogy, and for $12 you get the 3 big Grand Theft Auto games: Grand Theft Auto 3, Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, and Grand Theft Auto Vice City. These are just some of the best games ever made, there's no question about it, and they play really well on phones. In fact, really just all of the Rockstar ports are incredibly worth getting. Considering this is $12 for, like I said, some of the best games ever made, this is probably the best value. I highly recommend this. The Grand Theft Auto trilogy is out on iOS and Android right now for $11.99. At number 4 is Exiled Kingdoms, an RPG that's isometric and brings back a lot of what you see in classic isometric RPGs. I mean, in a lot of ways, it's a pretty quintessential CRPG, what we used to call them back in the 90s. The free version contains about 30 hours, which is a lot, but there is way more if you buy the full version. That can be done from inside the game. It's not expensive. Exiled Kingdom is out on iOS and Android right now. At number 3 is XCOM Enemy Within, which was the standalone expansion to XCOM Enemy Unknown. Way back in the day, it cost a lot more than this. And let's just be frank, it's probably one of the best strategy RPGs you're gonna play. It's turn-based, it's pretty self-explanatory, it's got great graphics, great story. There's not a lot you can say about XCOM that is negative, and it's very faithfully ported with a great interface that feels just right for playing on mobile. XCOM Enemy Within is out on iOS and Android now for $4.99. At number 2 is Another Eden. Another Eden is a JRPG. It has a pretty distinct pseudo 3D style to it, and despite not really specifically being exactly a Squaresoft RPG, it really manages to sort of ape the feel of it and actually capture the magic. Now again, it's pretty different. There's a lot of side-scrolling, side perspective-based stuff, but if you like that type of game, I think you will like Another Eden. It's out on iOS and Android now. It is free. And finally, at number 1, it's Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, which you cannot go wrong with Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic. It's a BioWare title, it is an RPG, it's very much along the lines of an older RPG, but crosses the line into BioWare territory when we talk about dialogue, when we talk characters, writing, etc. It just knocks it out of the park. Few games are as good as the 2 Coder games, and the first one is probably necessary to play story-wise in order to play the second. A lot of people say otherwise, but I think it's better to have seen both. It's out right now on iOS and Android for $9.99. Also, just a quick bonus for you, Chrono Trigger is of course one of the best JRPGs of all time, if not the best. It really depends on who you're talking to. I'm of the mind that Final Fantasy 6 and 7 are both a little bit, and when I say a little bit, I only mean a marginally tiny amount better. But Chrono Trigger is such a good game. It's got such a good story. The themes, the dialogue, everything is executed so well, and I love the battle system in it. Chrono Trigger is $9.99 on iOS and Android. Play it if you haven't. I mean, it's the best of the Super Nintendo ones other than Final Fantasy VI, and sometimes I feel like it's better than Final Fantasy VI. I flip-flop. But if that's not enough time wasted for you, I don't know what to say. But what do you think? Have you played any of these games? You like these games? You with me on Chrono Trigger? It's really hard to really pick. Leave us a comment. Let us know. If you like this video, click like. If you're not subscribed, now's a great time to do so. We upload brand new videos every day of the week, and the best way to see them first is